You know, if you're lucky enough to live in the Bay Area and be part of our wonderful LGBT community, you've probably met our next guest, without a doubt, one of the most generous people with her time anywhere, Donna Sachet.
I hope it's nice if they met me.
I've been trying to get you on this show for 3 years.
Well, here, I'm actually here. It's not a hologram.
No, it's the real thing. Now, we were just talking before we started that you're a Southern gal, too.
Yeah,
you're
it's not something I talk about a lot, but I mean, I'm from the South, and I think it taught me a lot about how people can appear to be sweet, and underneath there's a lot of stuff going on, and you know, nothing appears to be what it is in the South, in my opinion. So
yeah.
I'm glad to have gotten out and gotten a little bit wiser.
Yeah. Do you think that any part of who you are as a community personality, which I love that's the way you describe yourself, has to do with your Southern upbringing?
Well, I do write handwritten thank you notes. I mean, that's part
no,
there are little traditions I still do, and I think that I'm playing a role, obviously, when I'm Donna, and it's a carefully crafted role, and I want the people around me to enjoy that role. And so, if a gentleman's with me, I mean, I just assume he's going to open the door and like grab my arm if and tie me in the stairs, and so that's sort of all sort of Southern, you know.
Yeah. But now you say Donna Sachet is a carefully constructed character. When did you begin to carefully construct this character?
Well, a lot of
without
times
giving away something, we know we don't talk to ladies about their age.
20 years, basically. And you know, I came to San Francisco and I found that I could do it and be celebrated for it. I mean, I think there were other times, maybe a Halloween or a party, that you do something, you experiment with a little bit, but there was no reward in it. It was maybe laughter, but there was no longevity. And here, right away, I just felt connected. And I often say to people, I don't put drag on, I let it out. This character was in there, and I just let her out, and then helped craft her into a character that has a mission, and it's not just the dumb blonde you may appear to be, or may pretend to be sometimes.
Right. Well, I mean, you know, I was going to say I think that's a Southern thing too.
Right. You can play with it. Right.
That steel magnolia. There are a lot of women who act like maybe they're not the brightest thing on the planet, but
well, you know what they say, not all dumbs are blonde.
Now, you said that this is a character with a mission.
Yes.
When did you really start to find that mission? I mean, without exaggeration, you've given hundreds, probably thousands of hours now back to the community.
Well, I'm one of many. I mean, I often say I walk on the shoulders of those before me, and I know some of them. That's what's incredible to me. You know, Cleve Jones was at City Hall today when the marriage announcements were made from Supreme Court, and he was there. And you know, I've gotten to know Gavin Newsom and people before that. You know, Willie Brown was very instrumental in a lot of things that happened for the LGBT community.
Yeah, one of the first people in the assembly that talked about gay rights.
Bravely did that, you know, and beyond politicians. I mean, I've gotten to know Gilbert Baker, who created the flag. I know Jose Saria, who ran for office, you know, in the 60s, long before Harvey Milk, and got 6,000 votes and made people sit up and pay attention. So knowing those pioneers, I just feel like I've got this ongoing mission to keep their work going and take it to the next level. And right now, I think the gay community, after this marriage thing, is going to be sitting back saying, okay, well, what is next? It's you know, there's still things out there, but a lot of it is not so easy. It's not like changing a law. It's changing a mind, changing an attitude, and eliminating fear, which is just rampant.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, a Buddhist would say there's only two things in the world, fear or love. And, you know, I've always said if you can find out what someone's afraid of, you can probably communicate with them.
I've never heard that, yeah. That's interesting.
When did you realize that you had a mission?
Well, I guess I ran for Miss Gay San Francisco 2 years after starting drag, and I thought, you know, what am I thinking? But I was really doing it as a 92. I was doing it as an experience. I'd never entered a pageant, and I read about it. There were 8 candidates, you know, and I did all kinds of things to prepare. They had people that were helping me, and it was a standard thing, you know, talent and evening gown and sportswear. And, and so for my talent, I was terrible at lip syncing, so I started to lip sync a song, and then the mic cut out, and I said, well, I guess I'll just sing, and I sang. It was all stage, of course, and I sang, and everyone was just like, oh, well, there's a drag queen that sings, and it kind of set me apart, and I won that. You know, my first pageant ever, there were against 8 contestants, and then it's part of the Imperial Court, so they say, okay, you need to do a fundraiser, you need to help with this, and I'm like, oh, thank you for giving me a little something to do, a role. And but there was room for creativity if I wanted to do things a little differently or at a different place. And San Francisco rewards creativity. Look at all the stuff that happened here. The gay games started here. First gay chorus, the gay band. You know, everything bubbles up from here. I always say there's something in the water or the air. I'm going to keep breathing it and drinking it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 20 years ago when you won that contest and started doing your work, that was the depths of the AIDS HIV years.
I think it was the worst of it was over, sort of. But you know, a lot of people, when I moved to the Castro, they said, "Oh, you missed it, you missed it," And you did see a lot of people with canes, and there was like almost the gut was pulled out of it. But at the same time, I thought it was magical. I thought there was a magical possibility to contribute there. And right away, people, you know, if you do something a little different, they'll say, oh, we never thought about doing that, but let's try it. Not like, oh, we don't.
Right.
I think San Francisco is very accepting of that creativity and you know, thinking of new things.
When did you kind of lock into your look? I mean, yes, you do occasionally wear something else than red.
Yeah.
But when at least I'll talk for myself, when I see a picture of Donna Sachet not in red, I'm like, oh, something's going on.
Yeah, and I use that for a different departure. But I don't know. I think it's branding is what I think it really boils down to. I mean, I love being known as and often called the lady in red. And, you know, Mark Leno is often, you know, when he calls me the first lady, he's the first lady in red. And, you know, I wore the same suit as Nancy Pelosi one time at an event, and we had joked about that. And, you know, these stories grow with time. Now it's a Chanel suit, but whatever it was. But so, and, you know, Bill Blass told me one time, he said, you know, red is such a color. If a woman walks into a room with a red dress on, she has no intention of being ignored. And that is me. I don't want to just go to a party and I sit there. What can I add to this part? What can I do? How can I take it to another level? Maybe it's kind of a manic thing, but that's how I am.
How difficult is it to balance your persona, the Donna Sachet, with when you're not Donna?
Well, it was very difficult when I was working full-time. I retired about 5 years ago, early retirement, you know, through a series of circumstances. And boy, I remember sometimes being on that train thinking, okay, can I take my tie off and get it ready? Well, that's not going to accomplish much. My shoe, no, I can't. Yeah. And then I'd run home and I'd change and get it on and run back out. And it was really draining on my health and everything else. And it was taking the fun out of it. It was always so much work.
Now, a lot of people don't know you as anyone other than the character of Donna Sachet. When you're not sitting here as Donna Sachet, can you talk a little bit about that?
They may not know that they know me.
Yeah.
You know, I live in the Castro.
Well, even I mean, I don't want to give away a story, but when we spoke once in Cafe Flora, it took me a second.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And recently.
Yeah.
But it is funny. I can go down to the Castro, you know, the night after some big party, maybe a party at my house I was hosting or anything. I'll go down to the Castro and I'll pick my mail up and get my stuff at the bank and I'll see, oh, I'm not going to open my mouth because he'll know exactly who I am. It's usually the voice will give away. So I just like nod and just go through my magical Castro with sort of incognito. I bet Madonna wishes she could do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so what is that like? Is that interesting? Is it fun? Is it disconcerting?
It's a little naughty, I mean, I think sometimes because I'm thinking, you know, I know something you don't know. But I do want to protect my privacy because when you're a public person, as you are, you know, people think they own you or own parts of you. And in the middle of something, they can just grab you and say, listen, I don't like, did I ask for that in the middle of a party? You know, you become a public person, a lot of people pulling on you. And by having a real identity underneath that's private, I have a half a dozen friends that, you know, I really spend quality time with and go on a trip and maybe never put it on.
Right.
But I can't go 5 days without it.
No, but I mean, so, I mean, I know you enjoy it, but it's work. I mean, you know, you put a lot into Donna Sachet. Is it also something that sometimes protects you?
Oh, yeah, I suppose so. I unfortunately had a really weird childhood, and one thing my mother said that will stick with me forever, the more people know about you, the more weapons they have to hurt you with. And so I do kind of hold back a lot of things. And, you know, somebody says, you know, now, where'd you go to school? Well, in a lovely school. I kind of defer that because the more why do they want to know that, you know?
Yeah.
Or age or, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you talked a little bit about the Supreme Court rulings, the DOMA, the, you know, overthrowing a Prop 8. Did you think when you were a little boy in Georgia that we'd ever see a day like this? I can certainly speak for myself. In Richmond, Virginia, I never thought I'd be openly gay, much less married to a man.
I just don't understand how it happened so quickly. And of course, quickly in some sense.
Yeah.
But then you think about like Phyllis Lyon and Del Martin. You know, did it happen quickly? They had to wait 52 years for their long-term relationship to finally be recognized. And wonderful that they got to do that before one of them passed away. But and that was great today at City Hall. The first people down the staircase were Phyllis on the arm of Gavin Newsom. It was just magical. I mean, there were tears. It was very moving. And those are the kind of things I love to do as Donna that take me to a different kind of level, I think. That when I walked in that room, I felt like I was bringing my community with me. I looked around. There were no other drag queens. There were some transsexual people, people of various things, but there were no leather men, really, and there were no sisters. I mean, so, I mean, I think those extremes need to be at City Hall, too, that the whole community's enveloped. And when I go in there, I'm not doing it because I want to be in the paper. If I'm in the paper, I say, there we were. I brought you. Yeah, we're there. Yeah. I think the show is like that for you. I mean, you're allowing all these different segments of our community to bubble up and give them recognition and say, maybe you're misunderstood, tell us.
Well, you know, I've always said that my grandmother used to say when I was a little boy, the best definition of a party is to have as many people in as small a room as possible. And I think that's what TV does. You have people into your room.
Your grandmother's mine, I think.
Well, it's possible.
Another thing she said was, there are 2 kinds of change you like and change you get used to. And people complain about the cast, or they complain about the city. You know, there's this, there's that. I love San Francisco. It is my home. I've moved, you know, every 4 or 5 years for a long time. My parents did that, and I couldn't have long-term relationships. I could, you know, a Rolling Stone, gathers no moss. I got here, and it was like suddenly somebody said, "Remember 10 years ago?" Yeah, I did. Now 20 years. I mean, people know me, and it's rich, and it's a whole different kind of life.
Right. Has there ever been a bad time for you here in San Francisco?
Oh, sure. You know, recently, I think suicide's just, you can't say it's a rash of them. It's just I've known more about some of them, and some of them have hit me closely. And you just beat yourself up. You know, the guy was hurting. How could I not know?
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Klein and some others, just incredible.
And so there are times like that. I think, you know, all the stuff I do, is it was worth anything? You know, then you meet somebody that's like a nurse or a doctor that's saving lives, and I make people smile. Sometimes, is it enough? I don't know.
You have a movie that's being made about
you
now.
It's very exciting. This is a senior that's doing this. It's a senior project. And the great thing is when you're at a school like that, you get the best equipment. So he comes over to the house with all this stuff and, you know, these special lenses that make me beautiful. And so he filmed me for about 6 months, and now all the filming's done. He's editing now, and we haven't come up with the title yet, but it's going to be fascinating. He really understands what I'm trying to do and has really given me a lot of effort that way. And 3 people talk about me as my friends. Richard Sablatura, who's a good friend I've known for 20 years, and Drew Cutler, I've only known for 2 years, and then Mark Leno, who has just become a very special friend. I've seen him through when he first joined the city council and through all these steps, and now he's a state senator, and who knows where he's going to go.
Yeah. Now this film, they came to you, or did you?
Yeah, they just approached me, and people have done that, and maybe they have for you too, you know, oh, I want to write a book, or I want to do that. But I never know their intention. I mean, I don't want to become a butt of a joke or something, and or some kind of manipulative thing. But he really presented a wonderful presentation, and then I called his professor to make sure it was all legitimate. And I've had fun with it. I've included my friends, and it's going to be spirited and fun, and hopefully give a message of be yourself. You know, didn't Oscar Wilde say, be yourself, everybody else is already taken?
Yeah. You know, you have become, and I mean this seriously, a role model for a lot of people in the LGBT community. And I don't just mean for people who do drag or performers or what have you. I mean, for the whole gay community. I mean, no one puts it out there more than you do. Well, do you ever think of it
those
yourself
words
that
you're
way?
using, no one does. I mean, a lot of people do what I do in different ways. And I mean, I appreciate them, and I learn from them. And I don't want to be a role model so much because it seems like a trap in a way that I'm going to disappoint people, or they're going to try and be me. And I've had people say that, you know, Don, I want to be you. It's like, slow down, honey. Have you seen my bills? But, you know, it's rewarding, and I love it. And I always say, if I do get tired and frustrated, I did it to myself. I created this thing, and I love it. But, you know, you really have to buy into a lifestyle. I mean, I don't have a relationship. I don't know where I even fit that in. And some people's like, oh, I got to have a boyfriend. Well, you wouldn't have time for that with this, you know. And there are times you have to go to things that may not be your pick of events to go to or people you want to be around, but you are there for a mission. I mean, again, back to a mission. So, you know.
In our last few moments, talk to me about where you see the gay community going now after these Supreme Court decisions.
Well, I hope we'll look at, as I said, things that are not legal necessarily, but just emotional and spiritual and changing hearts and minds that Glad's always talked about. You know, making people realize that we are human. It's not that scary even.
Yeah. Well, thank you for helping us all realize it's not that scary.
I finally got here.
You got here. We've been speaking with Donna Sachet. I'm David Perry. Thanks for watching. This is 10%. We'll be back next week.